My world also merged with a game, and the age of classes reached everyone in order to survive it. I also gained a rare class. I am a thief. I had no idea of my power until they came after me.
Where do I start, where do I end? I should go back to bed. I'm going back to all the basics, teaching myself now how to erase it. It's like learning a whole new language, and I'm afraid, too scared to face it. I just want consistent clarity, but all my thoughts destroy. Give me some peace of mind, it's all I need to give peace to all of my family. I can't go back to you, my friend. Don't even ask, don't play pretend. You think you are everything I need, but I'm gonna leave.
Parallel to Earth, there exists a world called the Azure Star. 100 years ago, a game called Dawn arrived in this world. Since then, monsters, bosses, and even evil gods from the game have constantly threatened the world. The only way to survive was to awaken a profession and become a professional, an angel, warrior, elf, or mage. Thus, people ventured into the game, fought monsters, and progressed to become the strongest. Within the game, there was an arena where a kind of class test and the choice of each person's profession took place. Sun Xiaoli is called to the center, just below a huge black crystal, and then it is announced that she has successfully awakened the profession of Master Blacksmith. A nearby group mocks, saying that this profession is useless, and begins to laugh uncontrollably. One of them remembers, laughing, that in the early stages, this crafting profession only allows for improvement by purchasing materials, which is considerably expensive, and the friends agree. The instructor asks for silence and announces that the next is Wang Tianqi, a member of the group of mockers. Wang Tianqi approaches with an arrogant air and a malicious smile, as if he is certain that he will receive something very good. And so it happens. He awakens the profession of paladin. His friends boast and acclaim the brother Wang's achievement, as the paladin profession is rare and receiving it is a great honor. The instructor tries to silence the group and expels them from the location, as Wang Tianqi had already been awakened and was wasting the time of others. The group walks away laughing. The instructor takes his list and with attention announces that the next is Zhou Yi. The young man approaches, drawing attention with his impeccable appearance. The girls around him whisper, admiring his beauty and posture. Zhou touches one of the fragments of the floating stone, and a black smoke exhales around him, announcing that his awakened profession is that of thief, a rare profession. The spectators are surprised by the announcement, and some express great envy, as this profession allows stealing items, causing the most damage to single targets and even becoming invisible. A pop-up shows more details of the profession, leaving Zhou astonished. Wang Tianqi disdains the choice, saying that Zhou Yi is not skilled with thief weapons, making the profession useless, even though he has awakened to it. One of his friends adds that he heard Zhou had been practicing with a two-handed sword for a long time because he wanted to become a warrior, and that's why he was a bit dazed. For the group, this was a great waste of a profession, and it would take at least a year for Zhou to develop the skills, without even lasting a minute at the beginner level. Zhou Yi ignored the mockery, focusing on the pop-up in front of him. Each profession comes with a unique ability, and for a thief, this ability is the Eye of Death, Zhou contemplated. The Eye of Death sees through the opponent's weakness, causing 100% real damage for 5 seconds. The cooldown time is 25 seconds. However, continuing to stare at the system screen, he saw the Godly Hand ability, an active skill that can steal items, skills, and attributes from the target, with a maximum use of 2 times per target. Its cooldown time is 30 seconds and its range is 2 meters. Zhou knew that this Godly Hand should not be a theft skill possessed by common thieves, as common thieves can only steal coins, but the Godly Hand can steal accessories, attributes, and even skills. This impressed him greatly. The game system screen also informed that a new exclusive passive skill has been added, Mastery of Weapons. This passive skill did not seem very useful at first glance, he thought. In the pop-up, it described that Mastery of Weapons allowed the unrestricted use of any weapon, and Zhou Yi thought that perhaps with it, he could become a thief with a two-handed sword. Would that be possible? Putting the weapons aside, Zhou Yi reflected on the Godly Hand ability. Clearly, it was not a skill of a common thief. Would this be his trump card or a kind of hack? The instructor approached Zhou, placing his hand on his shoulder, and asked him not to listen to the nonsense of Wang's group, assuring that Zhou would still have time to pass the beginner's test. He instructed Zhou to go back and familiarize himself with the thief profession. Zhou Yi responded to the teacher not to worry, as he had awakened a truly rare profession, which people normally don't even dream of obtaining. He turned to Wang's group, and with determination said he would complete the beginner's test and show them how it's done. The group laughed and scoffed, saying they didn't care which profession Zhou was assigned. After all, a common thief can only sneak around like a shadow. Furthermore, they claimed that Zhou could not compare to brother Wang, who was stronger and more resilient. They warned Zhou Yi not to cross their path in the future. As he was configuring his nickname, Zhou Yi imagined how mistaken the boys were in thinking that a thief could only move unnoticed. They would see him frequently in the future. A system notification indicated that the nickname was successfully set. A window opened asking Zhou, now updated to Death Star, to add a new profile picture. He ignored the request and decided to use his own face, skipping the pop-up. The next window asked Death Star to choose his new starting weapon, and without hesitation, he chose the two-handed sword, as it was every man's dream. With everything ready, Zhou was ready to enter the beginner's zone as the player Death Star. In a 5-second countdown, Zhou entered the game, starting with a 0% success rate. His clothes changed, and new equipment was added to his visual. He found it quite convenient that his new outfit was just a click away. A system alert announced that the first wave of monsters was coming. Everything around him turned red, as if he could feel a threatening presence in the area. A horde of goblins crept through the trees with bloodthirsty red eyes. One of them quickly approached with a club in hand, and Zhou, grabbing his sword, announced that he was waiting for them because he wanted to test his new hacks. He waited until the goblins got close, and then one of the creatures jumped in his direction, and our protagonist activated the godly hand. His hand began to glow as he extended it towards the goblin. The system alerted him. An attribute point. Skills, none. Weapon, large staff, goblin teeth. His expression showed that it was not very satisfactory, and then he thought, why is it a staff? Can I steal skills or attributes? The creature looked confused, looking at its empty hands, not understanding what had happened. That's when the system informed, hint, you can only randomly steal one of the items, skills or attributes so that the real combat prevails. Outraged and with a crying face, our protagonist shouted while hitting the system screen, "Are you kidding me? This makes the person feel so powerful, but isn't it just a scam against the consumer?" Without even realizing it, one of the goblins grunted loudly, raising his staff, opening his mouth full of teeth while shouting, "Die!" leaving Zhou completely frozen, not knowing very well what to do, until with the stolen staff he blocked the attack, trying to sustain his strength even with his trembling hands. Although some attempts did not result in skills, he understood that the hand of God was more effective when combined with the exclusive abilities of the thief. The high agility combined with the greater damage base of the two-handed sword allowed him to easily dominate the beginner-level goblins. The Eye of Death allowed him to visualize the weaknesses of the goblins and deliver precise blows. Using this ability in conjunction with weapon mastery, a single blow to the monster's skull opened a new alert window, warning that the blow had caused critical and double damage. The second wave of goblins was approaching, and this time, Zhou Yi was more focused, calling the monsters to the fight with a grim smile on his face. He positioned his sword with mastery and attacked the entire horde at once. His attributes increased by 16 points, and he advanced to level 2. Zhou entered his profile and checked his health and skill levels. He was waiting for the next challenge, which would be to face the supreme boss, known to be impossible to defeat. Zhou heard footsteps approaching. The new monster ordered the insignificant beings to kneel down. Zhou recognized that voice. He prepared for battle and was stunned to realize that it was his own sister. Zhou Yi was confronted with the Night Vixen, the demon knight Lil, a boss with high values of vitality, magic, attack, and defense, as well as devastating abilities. The boss was a kimono Mimi with tiger characteristics, her pointed and furry ears, a snout-like nose, a long tail. Even with the family bond, his determination to defeat her did not diminish. Lil quickly jumped, positioning herself right in front of Zhou. He questioned how his sister had arrived there. Lil stared at Zhou Yi with a graceful smile, seeing only a small thief carrying a two-handed sword, and this was certainly a great source of amusement. However, he was prepared and was not shaken by the taunts. With a determined gesture, he activated the Hand of God ability. A blue glow radiated from his hand, forming a beam of light that floated in the air before heading towards Lil. The ability did not cause immediate damage, but Zhou Yi knew that the best strategy was to catch Lil off guard. She turned her head to look at Zhou and mocked her brother, saying that the blow didn't even hurt her. A new pop-up appeared, informing that Zhou still had one more chance to steal from the same target, as the first attempt had yielded a staff. In the new attempt, he managed to steal a ring from Lil, but he found it useless. The demon knight Lil, realizing the loss, screamed furiously, demanding her ring back. Jo Yi, although surprised, remained calm. Seeing that he still had to wait another minute while the hand of God recharged, he tried to distract Lil to gain time. He put on the ring and used sarcastic compliments, distracting Lil for a moment. While Lil, inflamed by vanity, was lost in thought, Jo Yi observed the surroundings. He needed Lil to get closer, within a range of 2 meters. The hand of God recharge was almost complete, and Jo began to taunt Lil maliciously. Lil, realizing the trick, was enraged. Her dark aura intensified, and a red energy surrounded her body. All the demon knight's attributes increased by 30%, making her an almost unbearable presence. Jo Yi felt the suffocating pressure, but he didn't give up. The hand of God recharge was complete, and he knew that this challenge was worth it. He activated the ability again. Lil ran furiously in leaps to attack Jo, but he knew his tactic would work. In his first blow, he managed to dodge, causing even more rage in the boss. With voraciousness, she raised her paw and said, "Go to hell, you little thief!" An explosion of energy engulfed them both. Lil realized that her attacks were blocked by Jo's sword. That was not just a mere ornament, but her end. She was close enough now. Jo looked at her with a bloodied face and told her he had a surprise for his sister. He activated the hand of God and directed it at her again, resulting in the successful theft of the 10 steps ability. When Lil tried to use her final attack, she realized that she no longer had that ability. Jo Yi, now with the stolen skill, activated the Eye of Death. His eyes shone in an intense red, allowing him to see Lil's weaknesses. She felt that something was wrong and quickly looked behind her, thinking, "How can he use my skill?" He advanced, his two-handed sword emitting a bluish glow, amplifying his damage. Lil stared at her brother, not knowing how this was possible. The battle reached its climax when Jo Yi delivered the blow. The combined ability resulted in an explosion that illuminated the forest. The massive damage resulted in Lil's defeat, as she fell at Jo's feet. She asked how this was possible, who he had become, and how a common thief had overcome so many restrictions at once. He looked at her coldly, the energy still circulating through him as he introduced himself as the Death Star. The game system recognized his victory. Jo stated that Lil was worthy of being considered a supreme boss compared to the goblins. Her level was much higher, but the combination of his blows was more powerful than he could have imagined. With a luminous fanfare, a forbidden treasure chest appeared before him, radiating a golden light that contrasted with the surrounding darkness. The news spread quickly in the world of Dawn, and everyone questioned who this Death Star was as they stared at the game system screens. What profession could he have to defeat a supreme boss? That was incredible. In a nearby church called the Church of the End, a powerful evil creature wrapped in reddish flames admired the abilities of the Death Star. The creature surmised that he had a powerful soul, and that his sacrifice would be enough to resurrect his master. Therefore, it sent its subordinates to find and capture him. At the Blue Star Federation, a sumptuous building right in the center of the city, a group gathered to devise a strategy to protect the Death Star from the Church of the End, as they knew they would be after the player. The leader's order was that the group should spare no effort to protect him at all costs. Back to our protagonist, who sneezed at the same moment, suggesting they were talking about him. Jo Yi was eager to open the chest and discover what was inside. Upon opening it, an intense light emanated, revealing within it the golden legend, promising new adventures and challenges. In this game world, amidst the imposing trees and dense shadows of the forest, Jo Yi reflected on the various types of treasure chests that existed. There were simple wooden chests, shiny golden chests, and the unique and dazzling diamond chests. However, among them all, one stood out as the most precious, the forbidden treasure chest. "Sword of Damocles," he murmured, recalling the deadly characteristics of the weapon. It was a feared throwing blade, capable of inflicting 400% physical damage and 300% electrical damage to any creature within a 30-meter radius of the target. To upgrade it, it was necessary to defeat 10,000 monsters, increasing its effect with an additional 30% true damage to enemies' health. "With this sword, I'm not just a warrior, but a kind of walking nuclear bomb," he thought with a cunning smile. On a quiet afternoon at Jo Yi's house, located in Building 6, Apartment 666, the events took an unexpected turn. An unexpected visitor arrived. The sudden arrival caused a stir, especially when Jo assumed that his sister had returned. He quickly logged out of the game system and hid his username before investigating who it really was. Upon answering the door, Jo was confronted with a strange, hooded figure. "Who are you?" Zhou Yi asked, trying to maintain his composure while dealing with the intrusion. "I would like to introduce our church to you," exclaimed the visitor enthusiastically. He continued to say that he believed his great Lord of the End was the one who would guide the reconstruction of the world, that he was the beginning of everything, and that the awakening and his rare professions were guided by the great Lord, so he was there to invite Zhou to join the church. Zhou Yi felt a chill as he realized it was a cult organization, and that man with the glazed eyes frightened him. How could they have found him, he thought, feeling an increasing discomfort with the situation. "Thank you, but it's not necessary," he replied, trying to politely decline the invitation. As he tried to dismiss the mysterious man, he began to dial the authorities' number on his phone. The rejection was not well received. The cultist seemed nervous, suggesting that Zhou Yi call the authorities to deal with the situation. The man held the door, preventing Zhou from closing it. The tension escalated quickly. Zhou realized that he was not an ordinary person, but someone endowed with an abnormal strength. The cultist forced the door open, invading Zhou's house again, questioning if he was calling the police. A dark force filled the environment. The cultist held in his hands a kind of sword, and this power took over his face, making it even more macabre. He said maliciously that he would send Zhou Yi straight to his master, threatening to kill the boy. And then, a red light left a trail in the air due to the blow invoked by the cultist. Zhou projected himself backwards, and in the midst of the confusion invoked his special ability, Hand of God, trying to disarm the opponent, steal his abilities, and use them to weaken him. However, he discovered, through a system notification, that the ability could not be used against humans, frustrating his plans. Zhou was not prepared for that confrontation. He looked at the knife that was on the table and grabbed it, intending to try to defend himself with it, combining it with his weapon mastery ability. He then activated the Eye of Death and was thus able to identify the man's weakness. And there was the cultist marked by the sight of the ability. It didn't take long for him to swiftly attempt to deliver a fatal blow, leaving only a red trail between the two. The man from the Church of the End realizes the tactic and recognizes that he underestimated Zhou, but adds that the only consequence of rejecting the church and daring to call the police is death. He advances with full speed towards Zhou Yi, who, alarmed and tense, tries to defend himself by trying to hit the man's weak spot on his back, but it's out of reach. Suddenly, the blade charges with crimson energy with black lightning circling the sword, grazing him. When he thinks he's going to lose, something hits the fanatic right in the head, making him fall to the ground. Stunned, Zhou stares at the lunatic on the ground without realizing that behind him, there were two shadowy figures standing at the door of his apartment. The two mysterious figures, one of them carrying a bow and arrows, ask if he's okay. The man with the bow approaches closer and reassures Zhou, saying that he is safe now. The woman with him wielding a gun checks the cultist member, identifies him, and reports to her captain that he is indeed dead. The man puts his hand on Zhou's shoulder, indicating that they should leave while the crime scene is cleaned up. Zhou, dazed, follows him outside. 30 minutes later, still outside his building, Zhou Yi hears the explanation of who the man who attacked him was. He discovers that it was a member of an organized cult that emerged after the Dawn game, and that they specialize in killing professional players for fun and don't give up easily once they choose a target. The captain of the Blue Star Federation warns that if this happens again, Zhou Yi should notify them immediately. Zhou Yi thanks them for the help, and the agent's car drives away. While watching the car drive away, a girl approached with hurried steps, calling him Little Yi. She asked what was going on there and why the police had been called. Getting closer, she asked if he was okay and if someone had bothered him, leaving him a little embarrassed. But Zhou Yi quickly walked away, saying everything was fine and that it was just routine questions. The girl was his sister, who almost fell face first to the ground, but he indifferently insisted, asking to go home soon. They returned to the apartment and the girl continued asking questions. She wanted to know how Zhou Yi's day had been, what profession he had awakened, and what his username was so she could add him. Zhou Yi made a bored face and his sister questioned why he was sad, claiming that it didn't matter what profession he had chosen, since she had a good salary and could support them both. Zhou Yi pushed the girl away again, saying he was sleepy, went upstairs, and left his sister behind. She watched her brother go up the stairs with a wistful look, remembering the day Zhou Yi was adopted into their family. This happened 18 years ago, on a rainy day when a baby was abandoned at the door of a restaurant and then adopted by his sister's family, Zhou Xingyu. On that day, the girl was very happy and promised to take care of her new brother. They did not expect Zhou Xingyu's parents to pass away so soon and so suddenly. Yi promised that Xingyu would always have him around. The memories flooded Yi's thoughts, especially the agent's statement that he was still a novice, which meant that Yi could not reveal his profession to his sister without putting her in great danger. He clenched his fists with a look of anger and determination, promising himself that when he became strong enough, he would tell Xingyu about his profession. In a place called Mingyue Village, within the game, Zhou Yi accesses the system and checks that he is still at level 3. If he wants to level up quickly, he will need to take on more missions, as they provide good rewards and increase experience. Remembering that the mentor of the thief profession is present, he decides he should learn his skills first before looking for other missions. Nearby, 2 other players comment on the achievements of the player Death Star. One of them, with sarcasm and arrogance, mentions that Death Star was not the first to pass the final test, minimizing his accomplishments. The other, in turn, claims to be a friend of the new player, Zhou Yi, and promises to deal with the arrogant one, stating that he and Death Star grew up and trained together. Observing the discussion from afar, Zhou Yi found the situation amusing. Zhou Yi finds the thief master surrounded by women and drinks, relaxing on a sofa in the corner of the bar. He approaches and asks the master to teach him new skills. The master is annoyed, saying that there is always a novice bothering him while he's having fun, and rejects him with disdain. He then suggests that the boy learn on his own, and shows him the available skills on the system panel: betrayal, stealth, and poisoning. Zhou Yi ponders the skills and concludes that betrayal and poisoning would not be very useful for him, unlike stealth, which is the specialty of a thief. The impatient master asks the boy to choose quickly, as he wants to go back to drinking. He then chooses the stealth skill and asks the master if there is any mission he can perform to practice. The master, irritated by his audacity, belittles Yi, saying that his missions are not for a novice who is still at level 5, and demands 10 gold coins for teaching the skill. Discouraged, Yi realizes that this place does not have normal NPCs and decides to leave. As he heads towards the exit, the other players around him mock him, saying his level is not good enough and that he is not the Death Star. They suggest that he go to Wolf Valley to practice before trying to level up. Meanwhile, the thief master observes Yi leaving the bar with a sword on his back, questioning what a thief would do with a weapon like that. The girls around him agree with the master, highlighting his beauty and skill in contrast with the immaturity of the novices. 10 minutes later, Zhou Yi returns to the bar, throwing a dead wolf on the table in front of the thief master. The girls scream in horror, and the master spits out his beer. Yi now has reached level 5. He apologizes sarcastically, saying that the wolf slipped from his hands. Everyone is impressed by his speed. Ignoring the comments, Yi asks the master again if he has a mission for him. Smiling, the thief master points to an area north of the village with easier missions for beginners. Then the master wonders who that boy is. Yi quickly accepts the mission through the game system and goes on his way. Arriving at Dark Ridge, Yi wonders if there really is a dungeon in that location, and if the mission is as easy as the master had said. He considers himself too smart to be fooled by a simple mission. However, upon opening the gates, Yi is faced with something terrifying. He tries to prepare, but it's too late. He falls into an endless abyss, beginning to be surrounded by a strange bluish aura, with various lightning sparks coming out of him. Back at the bar, the thief master smiles, imagining that Yi must have already fallen into the trap. Dark Ridge is not an easy mission, but rather the last and most difficult one in Mingyue Village. The master, with a look full of pent-up anger, was determined to make Yi pay for the embarrassment he had caused. Yi falls forcefully to the ground, causing a great impact and throwing debris in all directions, surprised to find himself in a dark and gloomy dungeon. Trying to compose himself, he begins to notice that several knights emitting a dark aura started to approach him. The system announces that he has arrived at the mission location and has 8 hours to defeat 100 monster knights surrounding him. Looking around, Yi analyzes what the best combat strategy would be. With so many monsters, he realizes that the Hand of God, even combined with the Sword of Damocles, designed for individual combat, would not be enough to deal with them all at once. However, he has an idea, and with a cunning smile on his face, he decides to try throwing the sword like a boomerang in the direction of the monsters, causing it to rotate forward. With this movement, he manages to knock down 10 of the 100 knights. The damage is significant, and Yi understands why this sword is considered a forbidden weapon. After retrieving the sword, he prepares, determined to quickly eliminate the threat. Again, he strikes his weapon several times in the same style as before, hitting them quickly and precisely. His sword returns to him, leaving only a trail of his speed, and then Yi defeats all the monsters around him. However, when he collects what appear to be rewards, he is disappointed to realize that they are only items of no apparent value. Before he can think more about it, a thunderous noise echoes, and beams of red light rise from the darkness. A monstrous being emerges from a huge hole in the ground, its armor covered in skulls, matching its own figure. Clearly a powerful boss, it questions if it was the insignificant being in front of it that defeated its men, and declares that it will now pay with its life. Yi prepares for the confrontation, his defiant expression revealing his determination. He wonders internally if the boss has the power necessary to bring him down, seeing it as a truly interesting fight. Activating the newly acquired stealth skill, Yi suddenly disappears, leaving the boss perplexed and unsure of where he could have gone. With the blink of an eye, Yi reappears behind the creature and activates the Hand of God. A new system pop-up appears, indicating that the theft was successful. Yi looks at his hand, surprised by what just happened. Then the system explains that it is a disguise mask, allowing him to change his appearance and name in the eyes of other players, but warns that if the item is lost, he will return to his original appearance. Kneeling there, the boss becomes furious at Yi's audacity to steal right in front of him. Smoke begins to form on his back as he curses him endlessly. The smoke starts to intensify, and unable to maintain the disguise without the mask, a large explosion occurs, knocking the boss's helmet away and revealing the true form of the Dark Knight. Yi observes the creature, and a new system window informs him that the true appearance of the Great Dark Knight has been revealed, and a special mission has been unlocked to kill the true Dark Knight. The Knight, enraged, promises to dismember Yi and use his skin as a new mask. Yi stares at the monster, questioning internally what kind of creature it was. A wave of power expands as the knight activates his weapon, a dark cross-shaped sword which heads towards our protagonist, who barely escapes. He manages to evade by jumping while watching the debris follow the path. He lands on the ground, trying to stand firm, and then looks ahead, determined to survive at all costs. The imposing boss, still surrounded by a reddish energy, seems even more terrifying and threatening, saying, "Die quickly." Then the knight advances with fierce attacks, forcing Yi to defend with his sword. With the intensity of the force, he ends up being pushed back by the impact. Yi faces difficulties, as he is not an expert in close combat and is almost being defeated. The knight seems to have opened his mouth, and from it begin to emerge several spiral energy tentacles that advance, hitting our young man several times. Without time to change weapons, he states that he will try one more time with the Hand of God. However, he ends up being hit by one of those tentacles, making him cough up blood. Wiping his mouth after the impact, Yi knows he needs to try again. He needs to try his luck. Leaning on his sword, Yi provokes his opponent, mocking his appearance and calling him a disgusting pile of tentacles. Irritated, the boss raises his sword, gathering even more power and preparing to deliver a blow. He says, "Shameless little thief, you're tired of living." Then our protagonist activates his ability, leaving a strong glow in his hands, and invokes, "Hands of God," and quickly strikes, taking the knight's sword for himself. "My Bacchus," the boss laments. Yi breathes a sigh of relief after defeating the Dark Knight with his new sword, Bacchus. The game system displays the weapon's statistics, highlighting its power and constitution. Yi understands that this sword strengthened his fatal blow, the Eye of Death, making it even more powerful. And without even thinking twice, he activated his power to defeat it once and for all. And zigzagging, he advances, using the sword against its own owner. The knight, now disarmed and vulnerable, rages that Yi cannot use him against him since his armor is still intact. Yi disagrees, confident that the great sword Bacchus has increased the damage of his fatal blow enough to be fatal in that situation. Then several blows can be seen being applied against the knight, who lost 19,478 of his life, thinking it was impossible. Still holding the sword, Yi says, "With your weapon, in addition to the additional damage from the Eye of Death and the 10 steps, a fatal blow, nothing is impossible." Being alerted by the system that the boss has entered a violent mode, the knight begins to scream and laugh loudly, making his aura even redder. As he suffered another mutation of his body, creating several eyes and tentacles, the knight said, "Stupid insect, how about you play with this?" Provoking the knight, Yi mocks his repulsive appearance and states that his armor had been gradually destroyed by the attacks, leaving him completely exposed and vulnerable. The knight, observing Yi's sword stuck in the ground, questions his impending fate. Yi then activates the Sword of Damocles, which flies in spinning motions towards the Dark Knight, successfully finishing him off. A game window confirms Yi's victory and offers him the option to publicly or anonymously announce his latest achievement to other players. Deciding not to draw attention to himself, Yi opts for anonymity. The game congratulates him on the victory and informs him that he has won a new golden treasure chest. Eager, Yi opens the chest and feels satisfied with the reward. However, a new pop-up reveals that a secret mission has been unlocked, to deliver a letter in Dreamlessville to someone named Xiao. He is given the choice to accept or refuse the new mission, and he ponders his next actions. Inside the bar, some men discuss their missions. One of them says that he has recently unlocked a hidden mission and gained a rare skill. Another comments that he is lucky, as hidden missions are very difficult, and this is something to be envied. At the table nearby, the master thief checks the time, satisfied. Since it has been 2 hours since he sent the novice on the impossible mission, he certainly gave up. As he ponders his thoughts, he and everyone in the bar hear the loud sound of the door slamming and see Yi entering victoriously. The master, completely astonished, does not understand how once again the novice has achieved something unprecedented in his most difficult mission. Who is this mysterious player? He wonders. The protagonist approaches the master and throws a bag with 500 gold coins in front of him, saying that he wants information about a specific place. The master of thieves, still stunned, responds stutteringly that the boy can ask anything. Yi shows the mission paper and asks if the master knows a place called Dreamless Village. The master takes the paper and is surprised by the question, as he knows the place very well. He takes another sip from his bottle, trying to gather the courage to explain. He begins by asking if the boy knows why the village has that name. Without waiting for an answer, he explains that dead people do not have dreams. That place now only has dead people, and is more commonly known as the Village of the Dead. The protagonist reflects on the information, trying to understand what it means. The master continues his explanation, saying that 30 miles west of the beginner's village, there is a tunnel that leads directly to the Village of the Dead. Every day at midnight, the village appears. It is a desolate place, emanating an evil aura, as if it were constantly in flames, something similar to what people imagine to be hell itself. In this place, the weakest monsters are level 25. He explains that in the beginner's village, the highest player level is 20. The boss of the location is level 30 and has a blood volume of 10,000. However, this dungeon is actually an opportunity dungeon. The focus is not on killing monsters, as long as the right choice is made. There is the possibility of obtaining hidden career-changing items. Yi is interested in these rewards. His eyes sparkle, and a smile can be seen forming on his face. However, the master warns that the Dreamless Village is truly dangerous, and tries to advise the novice not to go, but before he can finish the sentence, the protagonist interrupts him and bids farewell, heading towards the exit. The master tries to stop him, but in vain. Our protagonist considers the information and prepares to face the said level 25 monsters. The master laments, frustrated, because the boy does not take any of his advice seriously. He is not even afraid of the Dreamless Village. The dawn and the real world are interconnected, and all items from the dawn can be sold and traded in the real world. The Black Dragon Trading Chamber, one of the 3 largest trading chambers in the country, claims to be able to obtain anything desired. The place is located in an imposing building, right in the center of the 2 worlds. Yi arrives at the location with the intention of exchanging some of his items. Upon arrival, he sees his adopted sister with the witch he hates and questions what they are doing together. His sister sees him from afar and asks what he was doing there. She also asks about his outfit, as he apparently awakened to the assassin profession. He lies and confirms it. Before arriving there, he used a mask to hide his true identity. If he hadn't done that, Jiang Xiaoyu, the witch, would have discovered who he is and exposed him. Jiang provokes Yi, asking why he changed from a 2-handed swordsman to a dagger wielder. He responds that it's none of her business. They provoke each other until the protagonist's sister interrupts the discussion, excitedly saying that she's going to buy some equipment for him to go through this initial phase of the new profession. Yi refuses the gift, but the witch approaches him and whispers that if he ruins his sister's fun, he can consider himself a dead man. Yi becomes uncomfortable and tense, and only tells his sister not to buy anything expensive. The girl gets excited and asks the attendant to bring the best gear for beginner assassins. Without a choice, the protagonist approaches when the attendant asks. He is forced to try on a ridiculous set of perfect-level star armor with an underwater breathing effect, at a cost of 200,000 gold coins. Jiang makes a sarcastic compliment, saying that he looks very dominant. The next outfit is even more hilarious, and the witch takes the opportunity to mock the protagonist. Yi's sister continues to show other outfits, while the witch enjoys herself immensely. 2 hours later, they find an outfit called the Blood Dragon Trenchcoat, perfect level, which adds 50 more vigor and 20 more defense. He is also wearing a perfect level dark shirt, with an additional 20 defense and 30 magic. Black Knight pants, perfect level, with an additional 40 vigor, and hermit boots, perfect level, with an additional 40 agility. The protagonist is exhausted from all the outfit choices. The witch makes a slight compliment, saying that with that outfit, he's not bad at all, and his sister comments that he looks even more handsome than he already is. He asks the cost and says he'll take it. The witch provokes, saying that for a change he's being sponsored by his sister again. Finally, he gets the equipment he was looking for and can't wait to get out of there. He bids farewell to his sister, saying he's going to the Dawn world to complete a mission. The sister asks him not to stay up late. Yi arrives at the entrance of the village of the dead in his new outfit and weapons. The place looks like a common village, with tall tree canopies, mist, and children playing. It doesn't resemble the master thief's description. He wonders where the level 25 monsters are. He approaches, goes down the stairs, and passes through a barrier. He approaches the group of children. One of them falls to the ground and he asks if they're okay. The child responds that they're fine and thanks him. As he turns to Yi, he sees that it's not a common child, but a small monster, a blue-tinged skeleton of what once was a child.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support allows me to create more long and high-quality content in the future. I'm proud to say that I figured this all out by myself and produced these videos on my own.